The good member from the 35th, Representative Couture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Rising in support of the amendment. You know, I feel like a deep sense of just dread every time this subject comes up. I've been working on it ever since I got to the legislature in 2023. I started working on it in 2023. I started working on it in 2024. I worked on it in 2025. And here I am working on it in 2026. These kids, Madam Speaker, don't have any more time left to give. As we speak right now, there is one or more precious children in our state living in a flop house, in a tent. Hard drug abuse, sexual violence, malnutrition. I passed my first bill on this House floor about Carry-On Franks, who was seen multiple times by CPS and Department of Children, Youth, and Families, even though he was extremely malnutritioned and beaten by his parents until he died. And Madam Speaker, I don't have to ask permission to read. I've been living in these fatality reports until I want to throw up every night. Baby Otis, Raleigh and Kennewick, Oakley Carlson, the baby in Whatcom County. Sometimes these babies don't even have names. And when you look at the fatality report, Madam Speaker, it's just a black line. Another government statistic. They had a whole life ahead of them. They didn't often start off life very well. Born addicted to drugs. And it's not just fentanyl. It's meth laced with fentanyl. In my first session, DCYF gave 2 little boys back to a mother in Tacoma. A 6-year-old boy died and was found deceased next to his alive brother because the mother tased and beat that boy to his death while she was on meth. And I was told at the time by Department of Children, Youth, and Families, that's unfortunate, Representative. We should have just had more services. Are you kidding me? I've always maintained that I support family reunification when it is safe to do so. And I do support services when it is safe to do so and when those services are effective. But the data is clear. They are not effective. The Department of Children, Youth, and Families is not effective, despite the fact that many DCYF employees and frontline caseworkers and social workers say that the Keeping Families Together Act is the direct cause of critical incidents rising to record levels in our state. Judges in one of our counties, Kitsap County, Madam Speaker, call this Keeping Families Together Act the dead baby bill. And it's not just caseworkers and social workers and judges, it's first responders, cops, firefighters, foster families. How much more expert opinion do we need? And I've also heard that we need to tweak the language and we need to consider that. Any language, Madam Speaker, would be better than what we have now. It would be a vast improvement to what we have now. And we don't want necessarily to toss a child into the system. When you can prevent tossing a child into the system, sometimes it's for the best. But the problem is that there is no chance for family reunification if the child is dead. You don't get a second chance. Ariel Garcia, Madam Speaker, visited multiple times by CPS because his mother was grabbing him by the neck and dragging him down the stairs. Service after service, CPS referral after CPS referral. You know what happened to him, Madam Speaker? He was stabbed 40 times by his meth-abusing mother, wrapped in a blanket and tossed onto the roadside like his life didn't even matter. Or how about baby BS in Spokane? November 8th, 2024, dies after dozens and dozens of CPS visits, SUD provider visits, because his parents were on fentanyl and amphetamines. And you know what happened to baby BS? His head was beaten in by a hammer. He died November 8th, 2024. The department found out 2 days later. These were lives taken by our laws, Madam Speaker, because the social workers are begging, please do something about this. I went to a WFSE conference where there was dozens and dozens and dozens of frontline social workers, and I had people left, right, and center crying on my shoulder. I stood there for 5 hours. Well, I had people who were not Republicans and not conservatives come up to me and cry on my shoulder because they know they have caseloads of 30, 40, 50. And they know when they go back to that home the next day, there's a high likelihood the child is going to be dead. But they have to follow this extreme long list of impossible tasks just to get into a dependency court, just to be told no. Because the Keeping Families Together Act says no. You have to prove imminent physical harm, a measure of time. And that's why we need funding, at least for more caseworkers. They are drowning. And as a matter of fact, a bill passed earlier making it a felony to give out data in elections. We don't even make it a felony to assault a social worker in this state. And we ask them to go in some of the most dangerous places, expose themselves to fentanyl to save kids. That's wrong. That is so wrong. And we have a dwindling caseload because they're not even allowed to do their basic duty. They didn't sign up to be social workers to get rich, Madam Speaker. They signed up to a very difficult and hard job like our first responders do because they care about people. They care about families. And I do want them to reunify someday when safe. But you know what is not safe? Dumping services down a rope into a dark hole. That does not make a home safe from fentanyl. The fentanyl is not less deadly after the child's 5th birthday or 6th birthday or because you did some safe sleep training or any other kind of thing. If there's still fentanyl in the home, it is a danger. And it's against the law. And we want to say provide a lockbox in that parent's home so that after they've abused their fentanyl, hopefully, just maybe, they will remember to lock the fentanyl up in a lockbox after they're done crapping their pants and overdosing and urinating on themselves and puking on the floor, where they then drop their fentanyl or their deadly drugs for their babies and toddlers to get into. This subject makes me want to crawl out of my own skin, Madam Speaker, and we don't have any more time. I predicted every single session since I've been here how many more babies and toddlers would die or nearly die. And when we Narcan a toddler in our streets, like I had to watch multiple times just this last summer on King 5, we don't even consider that a near fatality. Are you kidding me? That's nuts. If it's anything our state government can do, Madam Speaker, it is to protect the most vulnerable people in our state. And I can't think of any more vulnerable population than the voiceless babies and toddlers born addicted to drugs because of the negligence and abuse and malnourishment and treatment of their parents. And substance use disorder is a disorder. We can cure it. We should help those parents and save their lives. But do you think that parent wants to stop doing fentanyl if one day they learn it's because of their dangerous addiction that they negligently killed their kids? That doesn't put a family back together. Urging a yes on this amendment, Madam Speaker. Do it for the kids.